Good morning, everyone. We are tracking severe weather through the Carolinas from South Carolina into North Carolina. Typically, we are having the 70s and the 80s, but today, Mother Nature decided to play a trick play.
Mother Nature's revenge.
On the rest of us. Mother Nature's curse on this Thursday morning. Welcome in, everyone. Queen City News anchor Jason Harper here, along with meteorology tag teaming Brandon Lawson, Andrew Brightman. We've got our digital producer Austin McCullum.
Hey there,
guys. Good morning. All right,
good morning.
This is the last 30 minutes or so in West Charlotte. It sounded like just bombs going off on top of our building.
No, for sure, Jason. Just been kind of a wild morning, but I had the theme. Here's the big weather headline was weather whiplash. We had the warm, kind of breezy conditions dry this morning, and now we've got the line of storms moving through, and then going to turn cooler and sunnier as we head into the afternoon hours. And that's kind of what I want to get into. So getting right over to graphics here, and then I headed over to my good colleague here, meteorologist Brandon Lawson, in a second. I love doing morning edition, but we're going to try to have a good time here.
It's on the sideline today.
Yeah, it's on the sideline.
Yes, it is.
We're going to try to have a good time tracking some of these storms because fortunately, at least for right now, we do have the tornado watch, Brandon, that goes until 1 o'clock this afternoon. The threat is going to end probably well before then. I think probably maybe about 11:30 or so. At the latest, we should be completely done. But we have been fortunate. We have not seen any tornado warnings here across us throughout the Central Carolinas. We have seen some tornado warnings farther off to the south as we gotten down towards the Columbia area. Now, switch on over to pinpoint radar. A couple things we'll talk about with the storms across for us here across the Central Carolinas. Non-severe warned storms, but some strong thunderstorms here once we get a little bit off to the east now. Charlotte, the main part of the line, continues to progress off to the east now, getting in around Concord, Harrisburg, Mint Hill, and then also Indian Trail as well. Just going to try to see if I can put a little tracker on this, working on my computer, so bear with me, everyone, okay? Mistakes can happen here, but just give you an idea of where this is going to be going, getting into places like Oakboro around 1025, Richfield around 1037, New London 1045, Albemarle maybe around 1050 or so as this line continues to progress off to the east here. And we've been seeing some strong and gusty winds. That's really been kind of the main thing that we have been watching in particular here in terms of the nature of these storms. Fortunately, not much in the way of strong rotation. That would be something that concerns us. We haven't seen a ton of that right now. One thing I'm watching here, I'm switching on over to the airport radar, and then I'll give it over to my main man, Brandon, here. But just watching some of these winds that we're seeing. This is probably a couple of thousand feet off the ground, but just gives you an idea of kind of what the strongest winds we could be seeing with the line as it continues to move on through. Wind gusts upwards of 50 miles an hour are possible here as it continues to progress off to the east. And I will say, just watching, a little bit of a hook action, potentially some broad rotation off to the east of Indian Trail right here. I'll just draw it. This is, meteorologist things that, concern us would be, a little bit of a hook action. You can see it right there, Brandon. So what are you watching right now this morning, Brandon, as we continue to track this line?
Yeah, just how strong this front is. I mean, we've got much colder air pushing in behind this front. And, looking at radar right now, as you were just pointing out, Andrew, up towards Cabarrus County, Mecklenburg County, up through Indian Trail, that's where some of the heaviest rain and gusty winds are right now. 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts pushing through spots like Indian Trail, Mint Hill, Harrisburg, Concord. This is one of those systems where even if you don't have severe warned storms here, you've got heavy rain that's bringing those stronger gusts from the upper levels down to the surface. So that's why it's just so windy. Even if you're dealing with light rain, you're still probably bringing down at least 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts. So very windy conditions right now. You did a good job tracking that, Andrew, towards Albemarle, Oakboro, as we're moving into Stanley County, tracking some of those gusty winds there. So within that 20 to 30 minutes, we're going to be seeing Albemarle deal with some of those heaviest gusts, and then also down towards Monroe or the Wingate area, they're going to be dealing with some of those gusty winds too. I want to get you further south. Again, we've seen most of the severe weather, as Andrew was just alluding to, further south of I-85, really down towards the upstate of South Carolina. This is a severe thunderstorm warning that actually just clips the southernmost tip of Lancaster County down towards Kershaw, South Carolina. That runs until 10:30 this morning. And you can see some of the heavy rain and gusty winds moving through the Columbia metro. And I just want to point out the reason why the severe weather threat is just a little bit higher further south is because the front hasn't passed that area yet. So looking at the cold front itself, the front is moving through Charlotte as we speak, but further south, as you're getting towards Columbia, as you're getting up towards the upstate of South Carolina into Lancaster County, where we have that severe warning, the cold front's still west, so the cold front's still providing a little bit of lift and instability for those storms to to still be strong and to still produce those gusty winds and even that isolated tornado threat too. So that's why the severe weather threat a little bit higher further south, but Andrew, as we were just mentioning, further north up towards the Charlotte area and into Concord, Cabarrus County, up into Kannapolis, Stanley, Rowan, we still have those gusty winds associated with some of the heavier rain.
And I will say, Andrew, sorry to jump you here. This is a live camera we got from South Carolina DOT, I-77, just south of Lancaster right now.
Yeah, definitely something to watch right there. I mean, that's going to be where, you should probably have that severe warning just south of where that camera is located right there. So could see some very gusty winds and heavy rain there momentarily there, Andrew.
Yeah, and also just, highlighting on the flip side of after this front moves through, just showing kind of the wild nature of what we've been dealing with here. This is King Street in Boone. It's snowing right now up in the mountains. In fact, they've got a little bit of a slushy coating on the roadway. They've got some snow picking up here across portions of the rooftops here. So just a really impressive contrast that we're seeing with temperatures in the 70s out ahead of this frontal boundary. And then behind it, we see the dramatic drop in temperatures and just how much colder it's getting here. Just trying to pull up the temperatures real quick for what we're seeing here. But it's just really impressive how much those temperatures have come down behind this system. I'll just pull up just bear with me here, everyone. But yeah, you can just see up in the mountains, we've got some of the snow coming down. I'll show you the wind chill, just to give you an idea of how much colder it's feeling. You can see the feels like temperatures once we get into the higher elevations down into the low 20s. That is the impressive contrast that we're seeing. It feels like 73 in Monroe. You go up to Jefferson, about 2.5 hours away. It feels a full 50 degrees colder right now because you got the wind as well as the rapidly dropping temperatures out there. Getting back on over to radar, you can see kind of right at the back edge, right before it starts to move out, you see the cold air moving in. And then also the snow. So we, some of those area ski resorts, I'm not exactly sure when they close for the season.
I think right around like late March.
So they're getting a little fresh. You know it.
Oh, we're gonna make pow.
That's right. You know it. But
it's better than skiing up there on ice.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's the worst.
I mean, just from what I've been seeing, just in Boone, and I've been watching from the National Weather Service in Greenville, Spartanburg, they've gotten a couple of reports actually of already about a slushy inch or so in portions of Avery County. So it would not shock me if they get about 2 to 3 inches across areas of the mountains here. Now, as we get back to the main line as it continues to move on through, down near Great Falls, Winnsboro, that's where we're seeing some of the worst condition or some of the worst storm activity. Right now, we still have that severe thunderstorm warning that goes until 10:30 here, mainly focused across Fairfield, South Carolina. But Brandon was just talking about it does get some portions here of when we get to Lancaster County. I'll switch on over to the winds, the radar site here in Columbia. You just have different radar sites we're able to use. You can see that. Notice how the color changes from red to green. That is all of a sudden the wind going away towards the radar site. That shows the contrast. That shows the front that's moving on through. Just trying to get an idea. Let's see some of these winds that I'm picking up here right now. Sorry, that's the wrong parameter. Some of the winds, about 30, 40 mile an hour wind gusts here we're picking up right now along this line as it moves through. So again, the line has been losing a little bit of its punch here, Brandon, as we've been going through probably the past 30 to 40 minutes or so, which is good news here as we continue to watch it closely. Definitely was a lot more ominous looking, and I thought at some point here, maybe about 30 to 45 minutes ago, we might have gotten a spin-up tornado warning, and that was something I was really concerned about and watching here as we were going through about the last 30 to 45 minutes of Queen City News now. But right now, the line's starting to lose a little bit of its punch here as it continues to move off to the east. Still got that large severe thunderstorm warning that does include portions of Lancaster County until 10:30 this morning. Brandon, you seeing anything else? I'm just looking for some of any of the various wind reports from the beginning.
As the cold front moves through, this line will continue to weaken. So it has weakened quite a bit as it's moved further east. I mean, looking at radar right now, just over on our Lynx One computer, seeing some of that heavy rain move through eastern Cabarrus County right now. So Mount Pleasant area, Red Cross, Oakboro area. That's where you're seeing some of the heaviest rain, some lightning, some thunder, also associated with this line as it moves through. So, I mean, Highway 73 up through Mount Pleasant, that area is dealing with likely some 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts as we track the heaviest rain moving through those communities, down through Oak Cliffs, Barriers Mills area, through eastern Cabarrus County. And then as you're getting over towards like Red Cross, Oakboro, as you're getting more towards Stanley County. Jason, you were going to mention something?
Yeah, I got a question. So you guys were talking, I know, Andrew, as we were wrapping up Queen City News, I don't know, an hour ago, maybe less, we had some tornado watches in effect. Like, I know you just said it's weakening as the cool front kind of makes its way through our viewing area. What are the favorable conditions for like a tornado to spin up? Do you even think we're going to have those?
Well, the good news is the National Weather Service in Greenville, Spartanburg has already discontinued the tornado watches here. If you switch back on over to our weather box here, you can notice that for York County and Chester County, they said the tornado threat has ended there. So no longer concerned about potential tornadic activity in York or Chester County. But getting to your question, Jason, when we talk about tornado watch, it means there's various ingredients in the atmosphere. Really, you need some sort of an unstable atmosphere. Basically, the temperature is getting colder quicker as you head up in the atmosphere here. When you have what's called a lapse rate and steeper.
Oh yeah.
So, I don't want to nerd out too much, but a steeper lapse rate means a more unstable atmosphere. That's one ingredient. That's what allows the air to rise and create those towering cumulonimbus clouds, those thunderstorm clouds that we talk about. But for a tornado, you need rotation in the atmosphere, and something that we're always concerned about and watching is what we call a factor called wind shear. And wind shear is how the wind speed and direction changes as you go up in the atmosphere. So let's say at ground level, we have got winds that are out of the northwest at about 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So, but if you go up, let's say if you go up 3,000 feet, the winds are out of the southwest at about 50 or 60 miles an hour. So you have both directional and speed wind shear. And that changing in wind speed and direction gives rotation to the atmosphere. So those are the two big ingredients
that you're looking for,
that we're watching for that concerns us. And when the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center sees those ingredients out ahead of the front, and Brandon was doing the same thing as well, because you can look at the various what we call mesoscale analysis, and you can see, hey, here's the amount of wind shear, here's the amount of instability. And Brandon and I were talking about, we're like, there's not a lot of instability in the atmosphere here. There's a lot of wind shear, and sometimes with a lot of wind shear, and something what Brandon was talking about, those winds, those stronger winds higher up, that speed shear can be brought down to the surface, but without that instability, you don't get kind of that air rotating up. That's how you get those strong straight line winds.
Okay, so we'd rather have wind, we'd rather have rain.
Yeah,
we don't
exactly.
want the wind shear.
Yeah, it was more of a margin in terms of the overall mesoscale setup here for potential tornadic activity. Didn't have a ton of instability because of also how early it was happening in the morning. If this was happening maybe at 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, we were back up in the mid 80s. We got what's called a really steep lapse rate. That would be much more concerning for that. But we probably would have seen maybe more tornado. We would have seen a couple of tornado warnings.
All right, well, good. I'm glad that it's happening the way it's happening.
Didn't nerd out too much there.
No, that's good. That's good information. That's what this is. We're in weather class with you guys right now.
Good. Pinpoint Weather University, man.
It's a special episode.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, the gusty winds definitely taking precedent when it comes down to this front. Jason, you're talking about the tornado threat. It's kind of ended.
Yeah,
as well, a little
it's
bit.
Really continuing to decline
for much of the area, but we still are dealing with some gusty winds, especially over in Stanley County. We're looking at radar right now. Look at some of the heaviest rain moving through Red Cross, right along Highway 707 as you're getting down through Stanley County. Red Cross, pretty small community there. This is kind of moving through some of the smaller communities of Red Cross and towards St. Martin there. If you can switch over to just our Lynx 1 computer here, and you're seeing some of the heaviest rain right now moving through Stanley County. So a lot of the smaller communities there, Red Cross through Oakboro, right along some of the older highways, Highway 1107 and then 205. But as you're getting a little bit further east, there's Albemarle. They're going to be in line for some of the heaviest rain and some of those gustier winds. So when you're looking at these downpours, you're probably thinking, oh, it just looks like heavy rain. But today, heavy rain's bringing down 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts. So again, Albemarle downtown, I'd probably give it another 5 minutes or so, and you'll probably get some of those 40 to maybe even up to 50 mile per hour gusts here soon towards downtown Albemarle. Right now, just doing some light rain there towards Old Charlotte Road and those communities, Ashley Heights area. If you live along Forest Drive, Eastwood Park there in Stanley County, going to be getting some of the heaviest rain and gusty winds here shortly.
And then, Brandon, this is downtown Albemarle right now.
Yeah, and downtown Albemarle, again, just seeing some of the lighter rain. But I'll be interested to see what that looks like here within the next 5 to 10 minutes with some of the heaviest rain that's going to be moving into those areas and also some of those gustier winds as the front also passes through as well. And then further south, as you're getting down towards Stanfield here and south of Concord, really as you're getting over towards Fairview, towards the northern Union County communities, we also have some heavy rain that's still moving through those areas. So that's right along State Road 1604 and State Road 11 or 1747 up through Midland. So again, this is right around, I'd say, southeastern Cabarrus County, northern Union County, where we're seeing some of the heaviest rain and some of those likely gusty winds too, coming down with the heavy rain. And then further west, you can see where the rain's lightening up a bit, and that's where the cooler temperatures are filling in too, and even the snow up in the mountains. I just wanted to point out, across the U.S., I mean, temperatures have plummeted. We were talking about record high temperatures across much of the eastern U.S. over the last couple of days. And here in Charlotte, we're already down to 54 degrees. And then you look at spots like Louisville and Pittsburgh and Detroit, that spots that were in the 80s, now in the 30s this morning.
What in the world causes Mother Nature to go from smashing a record 2 days ago, or yesterday, 87 yesterday, now down to the 20s in Boone? Like, what's going on in the atmosphere that makes it flip that fast, and not just like a 10-degree difference?
I mean, I'd say it's just a lot of it to do with the temperature gradients around this time of year.
Yeah, no, 100%.
This time of year?
Because what happens is as we start to get into the spring, basically, climatologically speaking, we get the longer days, it starts to warm up. It starts to warm up, and you start getting these contrasts in temperatures where you can get down, up into the 90s here across the south. But places like up in Minneapolis still can be very cold, and temperatures still get down in the single digits, the teens here. Now, this isn't a super intense Arctic outbreak that we're seeing. That's what I was talking about. Like, one thing we'd be watching is like if it was down around like 10 in Minneapolis. It's it's in the upper 20s. It's cold. But this is an amazing contrast. If you can switch over to links 2 right now. Thank you, Austin. Just look at this is the actual air temperatures, the differences that we're seeing, not even with the winds factor. It's 70 in Charlotte. It's 33 right now in Boone.
You can draw the front there almost.
You can draw the front.
Yeah, you can.
We're going to go to Meteorology 201 here. I'm back at Penn State. Find the front, everyone, because it's very, very obvious where it is. And this is, just one of those, textbook strong cold fronts moving through. And we're just fortunate that the front came through when it did. There was less instability in the atmosphere, so that kind of limited the overall tornadic potential. They still got some of the tornadoes down, like now in Bamberg County, across portions of South Carolina. They were just under a tornado warning. It's down across portions of Columbia. Once you get to central and southern portions of South Carolina, especially central and southern Georgia, it was a much more conducive atmospheric environment for severe weather. But fortunately, right now, just seeing some strong gusty winds, some heavy rain. Still got the tornado watch for Lancaster and Chesterfield County, but I will say right now, the overall potential for significant severe weather continues to go down precipitously here. Latest on radar, I'll do a little another tracker here. This is really the last line that really deserves kind of any sort of watching here as it makes its way off to the east. Just pointing the tracker. I'm moving about 30, 35 miles an hour. Pageland around 10:53. They're going to see some thunderstorm activity once we get to Marshville around 11:01, Peachland around 11:13. These are some of the areas that we're watching and ahead of this frontal boundary. And the kind of once that line moves through, your potential for tornadic activity, severe weather in general is done. And then also you're going to start to see those temperatures continue to fall here. I'll just take just for fun, just go back up into the mountains real quick as we get towards Boone. Just give you another look here of what we're watching. Just it completely contrasts an impressive scene that we have going on. Like, look at the snow falling; it's starting to pick up.
That is so crazy.
More as those temperatures continue to fall here, and that was something that was a consistent signal that we were getting from our model guys, is that we'd see maybe some strong storms, but also up in the mountains, they're going to get some of that fresh powder. Exactly what they're getting right now.
Look at that! I mean, that is just bizarre. That yesterday, working in the yard in shorts, now we got
it was up around 70 in the mountains yesterday too, as well.
All right, so you go 70s, and now we're down in the 20s. This is insane.
I think I might have just saw, because I have a different Boone cam up, a plow truck. It kind of veered into an alley, but yeah, maybe.
I know some spots in Avery County they've already reported up to an inch or snow.
Yeah.
So definitely colder air ushering again. And Andrew, you were showing those temperatures earlier, just kind of showing how we're still in the 60s and low 70s, southeast of I-85. So just wanted to point out on radar here, just where some of the strongest and possibly isolated severe thunderstorm activity could be. We're looking over towards Lancaster County. So over towards Lancaster County, you can see some of the heavy rain, some of the lightning and thunder still happening there. That's where we have more of the warm, moist instability right now this morning. So if I zoom in closely, you could see the polygon there, the just yellow shade there, skipping right through Kershaw. So southern Lancaster County still under a severe thunderstorm warning until 10:30 this morning. You zoom this out, you can see that severe thunderstorm warning goes all the way down through Columbia. And then you have a tornado warning just south of Columbia as well, really south of Orangeburg.
And this is just a live look just southwest of Lancaster right now.
Yeah, so again, you can see some of the heavy rain picking up there. So if I zoom in just a little bit closer towards Lancaster County, trying to get you down towards some of the neighborhoods and at street level there. I mean, you can see where some of the heaviest rain is. So the Country Club Heights area right now, dealing with some heavy rain, likely some 40-mile-per-hour gusts with that. And then as you're getting down towards the southern Lancaster part of like the downtown area, likely still dealing with some pretty gusty winds. And then the Rich Hill Crossroads area, you're going to be dealing with the heftiest part of this thunderstorm here shortly too. So again, a lot of gusty winds associated with this heavy rain as it continues to slide off to the east. But I have seen this line weaken quite a bit. The northern part of this line is weakening. It's kind of slow. It's decreasing in speed a bit when it comes down to the gusty winds. But further south of our viewing areas, you're getting south of Lancaster County. That's where some of the heaviest rain and gusty winds continue this morning.
Are we talking like patio furniture moving winds?
That's probably like some of the lighter stuff, like those light chairs that weigh maybe a couple of pounds or so.
The flamingo that's not quite.
If you have your trash can out, you live in an apartment.
Mine is. Yeah. That's true.
For the threshold for severe thunderstorm level wind is wind gusts 58 miles per hour or more. And for the most part, we haven't seen a ton of that. I've seen some wind, at least radar indicated wind gusts of around 50 or so miles an hour. So stuff that isn't tied down very well is still going to be blowing around. There's some of the wind gusts we're seeing. If we switch on over to Links 1 real quick, you can see some of the current wind gusts that we have here across the central Carolinas, kind of as this line moves through. The northwesterly flow takes over. You can see kind of how those little arrows, those wind stream lines come together here. You can very clearly see the front. Gusting to 30 miles an hour. It's going to be a blustery day here in Charlotte. And as we continue to move forward, we're just going to be dealing with these temperatures that are going to continue to fall here. And the latest wind chills, just watching that right now down to, it feels like 20 in Jefferson, 21. Yeah. In Boone, as they have the snow coming down. And then it feels, again, 50 degrees warmer in places like Monroe and Wadesboro. Really some impressive contrast that you don't see. You get these maybe about 2 or 3 times a year, kind of these intense contrasts.
I'm watching my live ring camera down in Union County, North Carolina. I'm waiting to see the rocking chairs on my porch. When they start rocking, that's when you know you got some wind that's coming in.
And then this is, let's go full screen on this one.
Wow, where's that?
This is Cane Creek Park.
Oh, I was just cycling there 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
okay.
I kind of had it on another monitor, keeping track of it. It is, like Brandon was saying, and Andrew as well, within the last 5 or so minutes, it's really started to pick up.
Yeah, we've seen there's actually a pretty big power outage in the Matthews area this morning. I was kind of just looking at some of the reports from the National Weather Service, just some of those gusty winds that passed through the Charlotte, Matthews, Pineville area. Earlier today, I did see some branches down in those areas. We haven't seen any major damage reports, which is good news so far this morning, Andrew. I haven't seen anything significant in regards to major trees down, but we have seen some branches, some brief power outage hits towards Matthews, Pineville, southwest of Charlotte. And as a matter of fact, keeping this up here, you could see where some of the heaviest rain and some of those gustier winds passed through Pineville earlier. I believe that's when we probably had the strongest part of this line. Right there as it crossed into I-85, right over Pineville, Indian Trail, Mint Hill. And then that line just really weakened as it got up towards Stanley County and up towards eastern Cabarrus County. So I wouldn't be shocked if we did have some branches knocked down there towards Pineville in that area. But otherwise, I'm very encouraged by how the line is weakening. Yeah, Austin, let's just zoom in towards Pineville there. We're looking towards the bottom right of your screen. That's showing the power outages. So get just a little bit further southwest. That right there.
We're not seeing too many, but this area right here, just southwest of Matthews.
Okay,
we're seeing a big outage reported from Duke. Again, this is a Duke Energy outage map. So we're seeing roughly about 1,000 outage reported. Here at Ballantyne Commons Parkway.
I'm also seeing about 1,000. I'm looking at Union Power Cooperative. Their power outage. They're just east of Independence Boulevard, 74, just east of Indian Trail is about 1,000 there.
Yeah,
it might be the same.
I have the power outage map here if you want to pull it up on Links 2, just what we're watching. About, nothing major. To a few thousand people here currently in the dark area, about 1,000 to 5,000. Currently in Mecklenburg County, about 1,000 to 5,000.
At least it's daylight. I mean, that helps.
Yeah,
it's worse when you lose it at night.
Yeah, exactly. And we have seen a couple. I'm seeing a couple of reports here, just a few sporadic power outages so far this morning. So just keeping an eye on that. But again, winds weren't crazy strong. Like if we were seeing wind gust reports of like say 70 or 75, which is possible with severe thunderstorms, obviously we'd be talking about a lot more people potentially in the dark. But right now, just overall kind of a minor phenomenon.
And I'm going to pop up Independence because look at that. Look at that change from when we started 25, 26 minutes ago.
My gosh. Are we getting enough rain at all to help with any of the drought going on?
Small dip, but we got a long way to go.
Do we really?
A lot more.
We need just a nice steady rain. Like all day.
We need a steady week's worth of rain.
Yeah, we need
that much, really.
Yeah. We need you to go. We need to have like a 2 or 3 week stretch where you just come on and like you're starting off the morning show. And you're just like, Andrew, it's just been raining a lot, man. When is this going to stop? That's when we know we're making a difference here.
You know what's interesting is my wife asked me the other day, she goes, I know I saw somewhere that Charlotte gets more rain than Seattle. And I was like, no way. And I remember looking at it. I don't know, you got to trust the Google or not. I trust you two over that. But
thank you.
It's a heavier rain.
Oh, yeah, because you would know being from there.
Lived there for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Portland and Seattle. There, and if anyone has ever been out there, it's more of a consistent small drizzle for most of the year. Whereas here, moving back home, oh boy. You get a lot of heavy rain, like what we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
All right, so this is, what do you think, 30 minutes, guys, tops, when most of this moves through our area?
Switching back over to radar right now. I mean, yeah, basically we're kind of, I'd say getting close to entering the fourth quarter here. Basically, just kind of a moderate to heavy rain in around Charlotte. Severe weather potential, just watching kind of down here across the Sandhills as I slap my, hold on one second. Slap the good old tracker on it here, just give me an idea. It's really that line here you see around Lancaster. Let's see if I can pull this up. A little bit more difficult to maneuver here on the computer, but it's moving at about 36 miles an hour. So this line continues to progress off to the east. Chesterfield, probably 11:19 this morning, and it's going to move in. And really, as we get to about noon, it's going to start to really completely clear out of the viewing area. And then from there, our weather's going to begin to dramatically improve here across the Carolinas. But still got probably about 35 minutes to maybe an hour or so, Jason, and then we're going to see our weather begin to improve.
I would say, severe weather-wise, if we were to have any more severe warnings in our Queen City News viewing area, it'd probably come in Chesterfield County.
If we do,
down in South Carolina.
And just watching the line, I mean, I'd say odds are 50-50 at best that they'll issue another severe thunderstorm warning.
And then I have some pictures and videos coming in right now. This is from our photojournalist, Brian Christensen. So this is Providence Road, both lanes northbound blocked right now. So we're starting to see some of the impacts of the wind toppling over a few trees.
Yep, toppling over a few trees. Just fortunate that we didn't see what was really down across central South Carolina, where there's a little bit more instability in the atmosphere. And
if you're looking at Brian's stuff, this makes sense for that power outage down in Matthews. Because if you go back to Brian's photo on Providence Road, we've seen those reports of tree branches down and also those power outages there. So you have those thousands without power in the Matthews area, and you see why. We've had some tree damage there and some isolated power outage hits in that spot.
And then this is Queens Road right now. This is just Mark Grzybowski driving through it earlier this morning. He was nice enough to send us this video.
Man, those neighborhoods are full of those huge trees.
Yeah. Yeah, this time of year too. I mean, you got a lot of these trees that are just kind of starting to get bloomed up and stuff, and they can be somewhat on the weaker side, some of the branches, because. But the one thing when it comes to wind, Andrew, I always tell people, when the leaves start getting back on the trees, that's when we start worrying about trees coming down, because the wind can add the weight to those leaves and bring the trees down themselves. You don't usually
there's one
see
right here.
Yeah, and you can kind of see there's one uprooting right there.
Wow.
That's Queens Road, South Charlotte.
Yeah. I mean, they're making them do a U-turn in the grass median right there. That's a big tree.
Yeah, so South Charlotte, that's where you can tell we got hit the most this morning, southern Mecklenburg County. And again, as Andrew and I were talking about, just kind of want to talk about the line south of Lancaster, as it moves through like the Camden area, Elgin area. Like that spot is out of our viewing area, but that line is moving to the northeast and it's moving towards Chesterfield County. So spots like Magby, and as you're getting up towards Chesterfield, that is where you're going to be dealing with some of those gusty winds and possibly a severe threat too as we get later into the morning.
Yeah, and that's right. And we're going to continue to keep a close eye on this line here as we see again the potential. Actually, I think the latest here, they might. The severe thunderstorm warning has now been discontinued. They have not reissued it here, so that's continues along with our line of thinking here, Brandon, that the overall line continues to weaken as it makes its way off to the east and going to be making its way down into the sandhills as we continue to move forward. But the good news is, I'll zoom in a little bit closer. Sorry, did the wrong thing with my map.
Hit the reverse on that
with
one.
the trackpad. You know, the trackpad's it's not as intuitive here as the good old trusty clicker. Not seeing really much in the way of lightning strikes here, and that's always a telltale sign of how strong a mature thunderstorm is. The more lightning strikes, the more you have rising air going on throughout a thunderstorm, creates that charge separation, that difference in charge, and that's how you get all the lightning and the thunder. So when you start to see the lightning goes down, it means that basically downdrafts are starting to take over in terms of some of these storms. So that's overall a good sign, as well as the less and less lightning I'm seeing here with some of these storms as it continues to progress off to the east. Doesn't mean we're not going to see heavy rain, but the overall severe weather potential for this point.
They did send that warning. I figured they were going towards Chesterfield County.
Okay.
So just zooming in on links 1 here. I was just talking about just that line moving through, just south of Lancaster County. So they have extended that severe thunderstorm warning into Chesterfield County. It goes until 11:15 this morning. And that's due to those 60-mile-per-hour damaging straight line winds. That's the main thing with it. Now, I wouldn't rule out a very low chance of a brief, isolated, weak spin-up tornado moving through Chesterfield County as that storm moves through, but it is a lower threat. Damaging winds are definitely the main concern. So, again, you can see the line here just south of Lancaster. I'm actually going to switch radars.
I was going to say, though, I'm not picking up any lightning, though, with this line now.
Yeah. And I was, and the thing is, too, they might be issuing as well just due to some of the heavy rain bringing down some of those gusty winds, too. We were talking about maybe some of the stronger winds from the upper levels maybe coming down to the surface. So I wouldn't be shocked if they're just issuing it based on that as well. No explanation from the Columbia office on why they issued that severe thunderstorm warning and why they extended it at least into Chesterfield County. But we have seen some of the isolated pockets of 60-mile-per-hour gusts.
Yeah.
That could be another thing too. Not the whole line itself might not be producing 60-mile-per-hour damaging straight line winds, but you could see maybe some isolated areas of damaging straight line winds with this line.
Because I have a camera up, what are we seeing right now in Davidson? Because I have up the Freedom Boat Club. Their live camera. You can really see the flags off to the right are really starting to whip around.
Yeah, it's just mainly light rain.
Okay.
Yeah, Davidson's up towards the Lake Norman area. They're out of the severe weather threat.
Got it.
It's just the front passing through right now.
Seattle rain up there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was going to say, Andrew, let me switch over to velocity because is that what you're looking at there? Just kind of looking at some of those.
Well, no, I was just zooming in here on pinpoint radar. I didn't see much in the way of lightning strikes.
Right.
Again, you always talk about, what we watch for in terms of a thunderstorm life cycle is that when you don't see as much lightning and thunder, it doesn't mean the updrafts have basically completely been washed out, and downdrafts, which is a natural weakening formation of a thunderstorm, are starting to take over.
Yeah, and I'm just tracking this for you. Kershaw, 1039. That's when the line of storms will be moving into your area. Camden, 1048, which is just south of our viewing area. Chesterfield, probably about 11:15 or so. That's when the line of storms will be moving into your area. So Chesterfield going to be the most populated area out of these storms that are moving off to the east. Jefferson, Pageland, you're just south of the severe thunderstorm warning. So you're probably looking at about, I'd say, 1050-ish for you. So, and again, just some isolated damaging straight line winds a possibility with this line of storms as it moves through. 50, 60 mile per hour gusts, something that I assume we saw in Matthews earlier, since we've seen a lot of those trees down and even some of the power outages there, Andrew.
Yeah, that's right. Still watching some of those gusty winds move through, and some locally heavy rain as this continues to progress off to the eastward here. Just this is beneficial rain generally here, and it's really just kind of this little cluster of the line here as it continues to make its way off to the east at about 30 to 35 miles an hour or so. Kind of switching back over here, just highlighting what we're still watching. This is the area of concern as we switch on back over to links 2.
Yep.
Austin, this area of concern right here, that's where we're still going to be finding the strong straight line winds. Not seeing a lot of lightning, which is a good sign, which means, again, downdrafts are taking over. Still can see those strong straight line winds, why they have the severe thunderstorm warning in effect. But overall, again, downdrafts are taking over in terms of what this storm system is continuing to do. And then behind it, we keep talking about it, but getting much, much colder out there. Just a quick check in on some of the wind gusts that we're seeing here with that line, kind of seeing in Monroe, wind gusts over 30 miles an hour right now. And then, as we continue to look off to the north and west here up in the mountains, they've got snow and actually some slushy coating continues to pile up here, even on the roads as we get up into Boone, which is fairly impressive.
Look, there's a plow truck.
Yeah,
or at least probably a salt truck. We'll just call it that.
Because it's impressive.
Public Works getting to work already.
It's impressive to actually see snow still trying to accumulate on the roadways for a couple of reasons. One is that the temperatures are fairly marginal here, right around the freezing mark, even some places just above it. And then two, at this point in the year here, as we get towards the middle part of March, the sun angle is getting particularly high. And, since you have a black top, it can very quickly warm up and make it very difficult to accumulate. This just means to say is that it's been snowing relatively hard up across portions of Avery, Ashland, Watauga County. So nothing just to watch here. Not expecting any major issues up there, but a couple of inches of fresh snow definitely possible as we get to some of the area ski resorts. Just checking in on the latest with the tornado watch here. They did issue now a severe thunderstorm watch instead of a tornado watch. Farther off to the east, we do have that severe thunderstorm watch now in effect for Anson, as well as Richmond counties here.
I'll pull up just as you're getting that set
5 o'clock today, but that'll be discontinued. Well, it'll be discontinued well before 5 o'clock. Anson and Richmond.
If anyone has the Queen City News mobile app, we just sent out a push alert. Nearly 7,500 customers without power across North Carolina. I have up the Duke Energy outage map, so you can kind of get a clearer picture of where those pockets are at.
Look at how isolated it is too. I mean, just like it's very, Andrew, you mentioned it earlier. It's so sporadic. Just some of these isolated pockets of damaging wind gusts. That's literally been the story. It's not like the whole line is knocking down trees. It's just very pockets, a lot of pockets of damaging wind. So as Andrew pointed out perfectly earlier, very sporadic power outages. And you look at all these different dots. You have 1,000 without power in Matthews. As you get further north, it looks like up towards the Davidson area, Austin, where you were pointing out some of the light rain. It looks like another 1,000 without power there, just north. So I mean, there's these very big pockets of power outages, and then you look around, and there's a lot of areas that don't have power outages.
And I will say, Jason had to leave us, but I'll bring in our other esteemed Queen City News Morning Now anchor, Annie Satowski, is joining us now. Because Annie, you've been talking with Andrew all morning about kind of tracking the storm as it moved in.
We sure have. It's what did you call it? The weather whiplash.
My big theme word.
Yeah, we liked it, but we've just had such nice weather over the past couple of days. Really enjoyed it. So this is, it's North Carolina in the springtime, so this is all to be expected. But it sounds like, guys, as I'm just now joining, that do we still have the tornado warning until
tornado watch?
Excuse me, because they're very different. They're very different. I don't want to get that confused. The watch in the southern part of our area.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's still in effect for Lancaster as well as Chesterfield County. At this point, from what Brandon and I have been seeing, I'd be very, very surprised if we were to get a tornado warning,
which is a good thing.
It's a good thing
don't want that.
Wind threat definitely is the big story.
Yeah, 100%. It's all about the winds right now, moving through southern portions here of the Central Carolinas. We get around Pageland, starting to see some of those heavy rainfall rates begin to move through. And I'll just put lap tracker on it here real quick. Gotta do my little maneuver. So just drawing a little line right here as it continues to again move off to the east northeast here at about 30 to 40 miles an hour. Places like Ansonville around 10:58, Wadesboro around 11:06, Bethune around 11:10 here, Chesterfield 11:27. That's where we're going to see the worst of the weather move through for you. But once you get through this, it just transitions here to more of a moderate rain. You'll get this blast of strong gusty winds, maybe a couple of rumbles of thunder and some very heavy rain. And then we'll start to see it taper off and start to see the intensity come down from there. Just looking at some of the latest live reports here. I'm not seeing anything too crazy. I haven't seen any more recent reports here of any more major power outages, Brandon.
Same. I'm right there with you. And switching over just to our other weather computer, just kind of looking at some of the velocities here. I've seen some 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts when it comes down to this line of storms that's severe warned. And most of the heaviest gusts that I've seen, the strongest gusts, I should say, around 60 mile per hour gusts have been really down towards Columbia. So the strongest part of the storm is definitely further south. But
and I know one of our other Derek Dellinger here, reporter, host of Queen City News Live. He just texted me 6,000 outages in South Carolina, mostly in the Midlands area.
Yeah, and that makes sense. That makes sense. That's where they've seen some of the strongest straight line winds, and that's where we've even had a few tornado warnings over towards Columbia, just south of the Lake Murray area. I mean, that is an area that just gets hit a lot with isolated, embedded tornadoes from some thunderstorms that move through with these lines. They just get that humid, moist air, Andrew, down there very commonly. There in the Midlands of South Carolina. And again, that is where they've seen some of the heaviest severe weather. But as you get further north, for us, Andrew, it was just those isolated pockets that have caused issues.
Yeah, isolated pockets here, just where you have, the right winds at the wrong time, or something along that kind of alliteration. It's been a long day, but something along that where you have the strong winds knock over a tree right in the wrong spot, where you can hit a power line. That's how you lose power, and then we see some sporadic power outages. But mostly, for the most part, what we've seen here on social media is just a couple of down trees, a few down branches here so far. But generally just kind of a heavy transitioning over to a heavy rain. Okay. I know we still have the severe thunderstorm warning in effect. We're seeing some.
I was just saying, Pageland, 47 mile per hour gusts popping up over downtown Pageland, and as you're getting further south, over towards like the White Plains area, probably about the same, 40, 50 mile per hour gusts. So again, I'm encouraged that we aren't seeing damaging straight line winds, but even with the 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts, we still could see some issues there as that line moves through. But Andrew, you mentioned it earlier. We're not seeing a lot of signs of rotation. We're not
seeing. Yeah, at this point, the one time that was a concern was that when this line was in portions of Union County, and that's what we were watching as this line was moving off to the east northeast. I thought for maybe a moment here there was enough of a kind of a hook, what we call a kink in the line here in terms of the straight line winds, where maybe we'd actually see a tornado warning issued. But fortunately, that did not have the rotation to warrant that here for the National Weather Service. And now, for the most part, it's just purely a straight line wind situation as it continues to make its way.
I have a question, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Since I'm a little bit late to the party here, does our super warm, record-breaking warmth have anything to do with this bubble up of severe weather?
Yeah,
I'm just thinking about summertime when it gets so warm and then we get those thunderstorms.
Yeah.
Does that have anything to do with it? Have I not been listening for the past 12 years of being in news and working with meteorologists?
I know you've been all the way back to your days in Mason City.
Oh, you love to bring that up.
Yeah, I know, dude. we all have our beginnings here.
We sure do.
Yeah, and you would see a lot of severe weather there as well. And in a sense, what you're talking about is yes, because one thing I was talking about with Jason here, when you talk about severe weather, there's kind of two aspects to it, Andy. First is instability, and I won't nerd out too much here, but basically.
Give it to me like I'm 5.
All right. So when like 5, think about this. Hot air rises, right?
Yes.
So, and also, so you have a hot day like we did yesterday, and overnight it was very, very warm. Mm-hmm. So you have this warm air parcel, and it starts to rise. And what happens is that when as you go up in the atmosphere, the temperature always goes down. Mm-hmm. Now, in certain atmospheres, very unstable atmospheres, that temperature as you go up in the atmosphere cools very, very quickly.
Gotcha.
That's what we call a lapse rate.
Okay.
So the faster the atmosphere cools, as you go up in the atmosphere, you have a higher lapse rate. So when that warm air particle that I was talking about on the ground on a warm night like what we saw tonight starts to rise, as it keeps going up, even as it cools, it's still cooler than the atmosphere around it. So that's how you generate instability. That's one aspect of it. Okay? And then the second aspect is something that we talk about, wind shear. Mm-hmm. Wind shear is the wind speed and direction, how that changes as you go up in the atmosphere. Okay. So let's say on the surface here, we've got winds out of the northwest at 10 miles an hour. And then let's say you go up 3,000 to 4,000 feet, they're out of the southwest at about 50 to 60 miles an hour. If you go up 3,000 feet, that is very strong wind shear. And what that does is that can cause that twisting and rotating in the atmosphere here. It's those two ingredients coming together in certain ways that generates the severe weather. So we have the instability with the warm temperatures that you were talking about. So it does play a factor. And then 2, with the front coming through, you're going to have a rapidly changing wind speed and direction here just as you go up a little bit in the atmosphere. So Maybe that's more of like a 13-year-old, but that's probably
It was a little bit more on the 13-year-old level. With
doing
the
it for a
word
5-year-old is pretty tough.
I know Thank you. No, that all makes a lot of
You
sense.
get applause, Andrew. Nice job.
Good job. You could be a professor or a teacher. They're a little older than 5, but no, all of that makes sense. And it's just kind of what comes with the territory of when you have these nice and especially very early warm days. This is kind of something that we could, obviously, you guys forecasted and expected.
Yeah, Brandon and I were talking about yesterday. I was like, we thought it was a chance we would see the earliest 90-degree day in Charlotte history. We only got to 87. We still, as I said, Hulk smashed the record yesterday.
Sure
but
did.
But that's how warm it was. And, it's definitely going to be a kind of a check back to reality here across the Carolinas, today with this front that was going to be moving on. You got something, Brandon?
Yeah, I wanted to point something out. This is the picture from. I wanted to go back and look at some of Brian's pictures here.
Oh, we can show them.
And what you notice, this is a lot of the Bradford pear trees that are coming down,
those.
and they're the ones that are at full bloom right now. So it goes to show. I was talking about earlier, Andrew, when we have some of the trees that don't have leaves on them right now, the wind's just able to go right through that. It's not really putting a lot of force on the tree, but these Bradford pear trees that are at full bloom, I've been seeing some of the pictures from Brian, it's all the Bradford pear trees that are coming down because they're fully bloomed and the wind is hitting those leaves and hitting the trees that are at full bloom with a little bit more force because it's taking in that wind harder, and that's bringing down some of these trees. So that's what I've seen the most.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing the most this morning. I was just kind of doing some studying on that and looking at some of the trees that have been coming down. And honestly, I looked at Brian's picture, and people are even commenting. I mean, the Bradford pear trees, we talk about it a lot in this area because they smell horrible.
They're terrible.
They're just terrible trees. And I mean, it goes to show. I mean, it's true.
They serve a purpose, but I think it's depending on the sex of the tree, whether or not they smell.
Interesting.
Really?
I think, yeah.
I did not know that.
We don't really have time. This is not like part of the podcast. I have a story about it, though.
I'm ready for a little bit of this.
Well, so do we have time, Austin? I'm going to ask producer Austin. Should we keep this on weather?
Yeah, let's keep it on weather.
All right. I'll tell you this outside of that.
But we do, some of the other photos, Brandon, I'll say as I'm just kind of scrolling through here on our photojournalist Brian Christensen's Twitter page, and this one again, as you can see, Providence and is it Kukendale Road? Both northbound lanes of Providence blocked. Again, like you guys were saying, these winds are kind of coming through. It's little pockets of where these trees are being affected. And then this one was a video sent to us by Mark Grzybowski. This is Queens Road. And I know we showed this a little bit earlier, but if you're just tuning in, we want to show it again.
Look at Mark.
Nice to put Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
You can take the man out of news, but you can't take the news
out. And he shot
it
horizontally and everything.
Yeah. But again, as we get closer, as well,
drone footage.
Again, it's just a 60-second video. You'll start to see the fire department emergency lights off into the distance. And as Mark pulls up to it, you'll notice these cars are being forced to do a U-turn there. And you'll see as he gets a little bit closer, just one of the many trees we've seen knocked down in our area, kind of from those wind gusts this morning.
And in Charlotte, we're really blessed with a great tree canopy, especially in the older, more established parts of the city. But when things like this happen, that's typically where we tend to see the biggest issues. So unfortunate, but hopefully everyone's safe if they happen to live in that area. And we don't want a tree coming down on anyone's home or their cars.
There we go. Paused it right there at the good stuff.
All right.
There you go.
But the good news is here again, the damaging wind threat is over in Charlotte. And now the threat is just focused here. I'd say, let's call it. Yeah, I'd call it 3 count. And really just Chesterfield County, because even Wadesboro and Rockingham, just not seeing the intensity here on pinpoint radar as we start to get towards the tail end of our, severe weather potential with this event. Likely going to be that. I still kind of a little surprised. Losing my train of thought here. Latest, I just wanted to look at the wind speed here. I've been talking for a long time here, Austin. Just get an idea of some of the wind, because I'm trying to understand about them issuing the warning. Okay,
do you want links 1 or 2 here?
Oh, sorry. Can you go to links 2? I apologize.
Let's bring up links 2. There we go.
I was just zooming in over. I was zooming in over downtown Kershaw there, so you're right in the same spot.
Yeah. No, because I just zooming in here using the Columbia radar site. Still seeing some of the wind gusts, and we're not dramatically far away from the radar site. So this is probably maybe about, correct me if you think I'm wrong, Brandon, maybe about 2,000 to 3,000 feet off the ground. But just give you an idea of how strong some of those winds. And when you get this storm system rolling through, what it can do is that strong wind shear, that wind speed and direction changing as you go up in the atmosphere, that can be brought down to the surface. And that's where you can get some of those strong damaging winds and kind of wrong place, wrong time, get those trees knocked over and taking out some power lines. And that's how we've seen some of those sporadic power outages.
What are you thinking as far as a timeline for people who are wondering about the rain and the wind blowing through?
So I'd say here with the timeline, again, this line that you see right here, everyone, and I'll put the little tracker tag on it again as it continues to make its way off to the east here, really focused across Chesterfield County, continue to make its way off to the east. This threat is going to wrap up by about 11:30 noon here on your Thursday. Behind that, we've got the moderate to heavy rainfall. What we're seeing right now in Charlotte, I'll kind of close out some of this stuff to give you a better idea of what's going on off to the west.
I'll give you a camera as well.
And I'll kind of switch it back over to Greenville, Spartanburg radar real quick. And you can see, got a lot of moderate to heavy rain moving through. We've got some breezy conditions right now as well. Let's see if I can.
And even it was
pulling up the wind gusts real quick. You see kind of, we got wind gusts 20 to 30 miles an hour in Charlotte, blustery here, but nothing's going to take down any trees. Monroe, you're still seeing those relatively strong wind gusts at about 35 miles an hour. And then as we get up in the mountains here, right along some of those peaks, as you get up towards Jefferson, wind gusts of 35, 40 miles an hour. And then you see kind of some localized areas of over 40 miles an hour. That's where we're still going to see those blustery conditions. We've got the northwesterly flow. It's the cold air being ushered in behind that cold front. It's also ushering in much colder temperatures here. Now down to the freezing mark in Boone and Jefferson. Annie, check out this temperature contrast that we have here. Full 38-degree difference between Sherrod and Boone. And then it gets even when you factor in, of course, the wind. You got to deal with how it actually feels like on your body here because it's so blustery up there. Feels like 19 in Jefferson versus 72 in Rockingham.
And I just pulled up the King Street camera for you because you can really start to see the roads kind of it's piling up on the roads just a little bit.
Yeah. But so just kind of just a true day of contrast that we have here across the Carolinas. And for me, living here now 3.5 years, kind of a exciting aspect of forecasting the weather is you're going to come two completely polar different opposites of what's going on. You've got snow up in the mountains, and then we're talking about severe weather down in the Sandhills.
A good opportunity to escape to the mountains this weekend, maybe, or is it just going to warm up as much as it's going to warm up here in the weekend up in the mountains too? So every centimeter that they get in the mountains is probably all going to melt.
A little metric system shout out, right?
So European.
Do we not measure it like that here?
It's okay.
I forget.
So I mean, really still tracking the just back to that severe warning down in Chesterfield County. You're pointing out some of the winds really over towards Kershaw County because that's where some of the heftiest ones have been over Kershaw County. But just wanted to take a look at just kind of where the heftiest part of the storm. Just kind of recap it a little bit as we get a little bit further south and east of Charlotte. Over on our other weather computer on Links 1. Just kind of looking, you still have that severe thunderstorm warning that goes until 11:15. And Kershaw right now, I'm zooming in more on downtown Kershaw. That is where we're seeing gusts, I think probably around, only showing like 20 mile per hour gusts, probably a little bit stronger than that with some of the heaviest rain. But that's a sign that this is really weakening quite a bit. This line that is severe warning. Then as you get a little bit further south, as you're getting more so into like Kershaw County itself, just south of our viewing area, Andrew, that's where you're highlighting some of those 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts. So, but I will say the thing with that is where the severe winds are going to be moving in. So as you're getting into southern Chesterfield County towards McBee, as you're getting into Patrick, Chesterfield, Sherrall, those winds are going to be pretty strong as they get through those communities. So I expect they'll continue at least that severe thunderstorm warning through parts of central and southern Chesterfield County. McBee probably have McBee there. I believe it's McBee. Probably have until about, let's say, another 10 minutes until that gets to your area. And that's probably going to be the strongest part of this line of storms right now moving through those communities. So just something to continue to monitor in Chesterfield County. Still thinking about you guys down there. We still have the concern for maybe some isolated pockets of damaging wind gusts, maybe some isolated power hits. But I'm not really concerned about the tornado threat, Andrew. I think the tornado threat is pretty low for that area, especially considering we haven't seen any signs of rotation at all. And then when you zoom out and look at radar right now, just in general, you can see it's just the light to moderate rain over Charlotte, some of that snow forming over the mountain communities as well. that continue to come down. The reason I was saying about the Bradford pear trees, just like they're not great trees because they're kind of like an invasive species for our area. So for those that might be new to the Carolinas, Bradford pear trees, they grow very, they bloom very quickly. They give you kind of that early bloom, but they're not very good for the area. First off, they smell horrible. They're you guys have probably smelled it before. They smell awful, but they're not good for insects. They don't really serve much of a purpose for the nature itself. Being an invasive species. As a matter of fact, I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago, a lot of folks were telling people just to cut them down.
I think they might have even been paying people to cut them down.
Yeah, because they just cross-pollinate other parts of the nature itself. And again, they're displacing some of the native plants that we have around here. They break easily when it comes down to storms, as we see from this picture from our photojournalist Brian Christensen. It doesn't take much to knock them over because they're very weak. Very short-lived trees, and again, they're just not very good for local wildlife. And again, native insects in this area don't really eat them a whole lot. So that was why I was saying, they're just not great for the area.
No, and appreciate the little lesson. I didn't fully realize that. But just switching back over here to links 2 real quick, Austin.
Yep.
I've turned on some of the local storm reports here. You can see it. This is over the past 3 hours or so, watching that line move through. We do have that one report here near Providence Road where we had some power lines down. And that's really the only thing in terms of local storm reports that I've seen so far. And then we have another one that was kind of off to the west here that looked like we had some potential. Let me just see, as a kind of tree blocking the roadway here around that. Looks like Pinckney Road, potentially down across portions of upstate South Carolina. Those are really only the 2 storm reports that I've seen right now in terms of that thunderstorm wind damage that really has been kind of the big concern for the most part this morning here. And now as we continue to move forward, the threat is starting to transition just over to heavy rain. Then I think that generally what we're going to see here, though, as we go throughout the day, farther off to our east, we get towards Fayetteville, Goldsboro, Lumberton, might see kind of that natural instability of the day as they try to still heat up a little bit out ahead of the front. Might see a little bit more kind of storm activity regenerating as we head into the afternoon.
And just want to show Futurecast because I know we're running a little low on time here. Just showing you Futurecast, kind of getting you through the rest of the day here. Notice storms blow through, things clear out, we're drying out, temperatures fall back into the 40s again this afternoon. So it's going to be a very cold afternoon. But for our area, the severe threat, Andrew, ending probably around another 30 minutes after that moves through Chesterfield County.
It's over.
And then it's just about the cold air. The snow will taper off in the mountains this afternoon, and then we're dry. I mean, later this evening and overnight tonight, we're tracking temperatures plummeting back into the 30s, possibly another hard freeze up in the mountains. So definitely just a complete turnaround in our weather, trying to get up near 60 tomorrow with plenty of sunshine. So this is a quick hitting system, Andrew, very fast moving front. Obviously we had the tornado watches issued for those communities in the upstate of South Carolina, Lancaster County, Chester County, York, and Chesterfield. And I believe that the Chesterfield County tornado watch will probably expire by the time Andrew's on at noon for Queen City News.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if that's still on there.
Yeah, and I think Lancaster's still under the watch, but the watch or the tornado threat for Lancaster County has ended. That line has actually moved past Lancaster County already, so you're already good there too. So I think we're pretty much winding down. Just got to get the storm past Chesterfield County, South Carolina, and things will be good to go. And then it's just going to be about trying to find your winter coat again. I had to look for mine this morning because
tomorrow when I come in dark and early.
Yeah.
What time, Andrew?
Probably a little before 3 a.m. It's gonna be
all right. Well, Annie, gentleman meteorologist Andrew Brightman, Brandon Lawson, thank you so much for coming in here as we've been tracking the severe weather moving across parts of South Carolina and North Carolina today. For anyone watching on YouTube right now, please go download the Queen City News Plus app. You can kind of keep with us as we go live for these events. We know we see them pop up a lot during the summer, and obviously Andrew will have your full forecast coming up on Queen City News at noon.
Look forward to it.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.